pretty north, and we live off Grace now, so I was walking down Irving Park South.
Okay.
There's a ton of, by that golf course, tons of squirrels, tons of geese.
Sure.
And yeah, he was really good.
Good.
I did test him on the geese, so I broke him.
Okay.
And I did try recalling him. It was a little bit harder to get back on me, but I kind of did that to myself.
Sure,
I
sure.
set myself up for failure there.
Sure. But it tells you what needs to be worked on.
Yeah.
So I'm all for experimenting, and I know you guys like practice and stuff like that. And the only like real way to know for sure is to try it out. My whole thing is always just as long as it's safe enough environment. You know?
There's no cars over there. Like,
Yeah.
It was like right by the harbor and the grass.
Sure. Yeah.
Nobody's around. So.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then, so what I would do is, one, because there's so much stuff in that area, using that to your advantage. Not going there and bring the long line with you. If you see a flock of geese, pop it on them, you know, let them have at it or whatever. And then in the beginning, keeping that handle over your thumb.
Lock, yeah.
Yep, so you can, you know, call them back. And then the next, so the stages is, you know, short leash to long leash in our hand, to long leash dragging, to no leash unenclosed area, enclosed area to no leash unenclosed area. Okay. That's typically how I tell people to progress, right? Yeah. Of course, some people progress really quickly on their own, you know?
I tested it, yeah.
Yeah, like I got a client that lives over by, Lincoln Park, just off of the lakefront.
Yeah.
You know, so like, what is that, Clark or Lincoln right there?
Yeah.
And there's tons of land, right? And there's like I think another street, then there's more land. And all the dogs go over there to play.
Yeah, we used to go there in the morning with him sometimes.
Yeah.
But like I would never, like, it was a little bit too much because it's not enclosed at all.
Yeah, correct, right. Like there's a street, I think, on either side.
Yeah, if it just took off, like, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I actually have a few clients in that area. So that's how they came across me. You know, they practice regularly, but because they take their dog to go play all the time, they also kind of skip steps and were, you know, doing recall when he was playing and stuff. But he was doing really well, except I think he was great with everything except if he was being chased. They said if he's being chased, like he would respond and he would turn away, but because the dogs would be chasing him, like it would distract him and then he'd overshoot. You know, so that's the thing that they're working on. But otherwise, like he recalls off of everything really well. But I always just suggest to people to take their time because recall is it's the most important, but also like the most dangerous, right? Depending on where you practice and stuff. But I know the area you practice in. Yeah. I think it was a good experiment.
Before I did that, I tried it at the like Prairie Wolf, and I also did the
Oh, sure.
Park. So yeah, we've tried it a couple times, like seeing if you'll recall and also walk with us. But yeah, this is the first time I've done it more in public and not at a dog park.
Sure, yeah. And then if you do it at the dog park, I always say if you're gonna make one thing harder, make something easier. Yeah. So like let's say you go to the dog park and there's like 20 dogs, right? Like obviously that's what's making it harder. Mm-hmm. Is that if you try to call from across the dog park, less likely to succeed. Is that I'll actually go real close, right? So if he's playing with a group of dogs here, I'm like 6 to 8 feet away. Yeah. I'm making that easier for him. Yeah. And then I build up to like where I can call him from a group while he's engaged in play, even at a distance. So little things like that. So whenever you work with them, just think to yourself, like, what am I doing to make this harder, right? So like, let's say you're doing no leash, right? And then there's squirrels, whatever. Then I'd make it easier by same thing as a dog park, coming in closer, mm-hmm. or like having that line on. So even though he's fully distracted, I still have a means of like making him return or whatever. Okay?
Cool.
You tired? What's going on here?
He's always tired.
He was pretty amped up all day today.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How's everything else?
Good.
Yeah, I think moving the number up last week helped a lot.
Yes, it helped a lot.
Yeah.
And I found that my number is higher than Matt's.
Oh, sure.
Because when he gets in, your number is 70, but then I was up at like 89.
Like, wow. Like I think I did like 70 today, and like I said, like I was off leash, and he was just at my side the entire time until I said break, and then besides the geese situation, he came back every single time, like, right on command.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had yours at 89.
Yeah, I had mine. Somehow mine got to 89, but yeah, he still likes to walk a little bit ahead of me, so I'm trying to break that.
And how are you trying to break that? How do you correct that?
Well, I do the turns.
That's correct.
And the one time.
When you turn the tap, right? are you finding that right when you're tapping, is he already responding, or is he still like kind of forcing a bit before he responds to that?
So, most of the time I'll do it because I know that he's not paying attention and he's far enough ahead of me to where I know that he's definitely not paying attention. So like I'll feel tension on the leash because he's not doing anything, he's not responding to me.
Sure.
But he's been better about, he'll recognize that I'm starting to move, but still too far ahead of me.
Okay, so one thing you can do is you can tap before you turn.
Yeah, I've been doing tap and turn at the same time.
Sure, yeah, so that or still bumping it, like 8, 9, like I think we've been up in that range, but I think it was like squirrels or something
Yeah,
going
he's
on.
super distracted.
I think I did that actually, like I've been tapping before turning, because I kind of got impatient with him, like trying to get that lead and wait until I turned. I think I've actually been tapping sooner, more recently.
So you're saying turn and tap?
Tap then turn.
Tap then turn.
Because what can happen is, I'll get dogs that'll learn to play with that little bit of leeway. So by the time the owner's turning, the dog is actually already turning too.
Yeah.
Like they're quick. So then when they tap them, or the owner will think like, well, the dog turned with me, how can I tap? So then I'll like, well, the dogs, like they learn to play that game. So what I'll do is I'll tap before I even turn.
Yeah.
So I'm beating, there's no way to beat the punch because it comes preemptively, right? The other thing would be, and even though it's just obedience really, is even though we're at 89, 90 or whatever, I still keep bumping it until I find that number, you know?
Yeah.
So like I have a dog right now whose number went from 85 to 115 and then they had an incident, now it's maxed out.
Well,
And when you see the dog, it's, you know, other dogs at 127 would be like, holy crap, what is this? Holy crap, you know, what is this? But he's taking it and then you see the strong contraction.
Yeah.
He's not fazed by it. But it's the number that he responds to.
Yeah.
You know, so it's crazy, but it can happen. The other thing is, I was telling everybody, dog logic is not the same as human logic. You know, and you might think like dude, like, you know, we're mowing you at 90, like, why are you still like trying to forge ahead?
Yeah.
And whatever it is that's in his mind that's either more rewarding or that he's wanting is just, you know, he's willing to take, you know, those hits. So I just keep playing with that number until eventually it's like, oh well, like you know, Matt said, where he was on his hip. I mean, interesting enough, a lot of my clients will note that the dog walks better with no leash than they walk.
I would say that was true. Like he went on the leash, like he was almost on top of it, almost. Or he'd be trying to find that area, whereas when I was off leash, he was more naturally at my side.
Sure. Yeah, it's a super common thing. I think part of it is, and also when you're walking with them, you know, making sure that leash is slack, because people do unintentionally shorten it, and that shortening of the leash will counter the remote and actually encourage forging behavior. Okay. So just a couple of things to check on. Just make sure that leash is slack. He's got plenty of leeway to make that mistake. The moment you see him go tap, then turn.
Yeah, I'll try that. Because I do leave enough slack for him. I'm pretty conscious about that.
Sure.
And like with the hoodie too, I think like as I started tapping and then turning, because I got frustrated and trying to take that edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can hide it too, because he knows the jingle. Like.
Oh, like, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Since I wear like these hoodies I like, because I can just keep the remote in my pocket and the dog doesn't know.
Yeah, now that we can wear jackets, it's been
I know.
it's been a lot easier to carry everything too.
Sure. Just wait till the gloves come into play. That's where things get a little tricky.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else?
No.
In terms of commands, I know we did the long leash recall, we've done the heel, we did the place command. Did we ever do stay?
We did not do stay.
We did not do
That's what
stay.
you mentioned last week. I think.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna work on stay because that's what's gonna allow you to take that long leash stuff and really kind of just progress it a bit more, because it gives you 3 things. It gives you to walk with me, the come to me, and the don't move, aside from like place.
Yeah.
But the way I teach stay is a bit different than most people apply it, or most trainers teach it. So most trainers, nope, not doing place, buddy.
Gilmore time.
There you go. Is most trainers will say things like go to, you know, place stay, sit stay, or down stay. whereas I just give the command, and we imply that stay by simply correcting him when he gets out of position, okay? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna do this from the heel position. So if we go into heel and we come to a stop, what should Gilmore do?
Auto sit.
He should auto sit, right? But this isn't a sit. What is this?
It's just standing in place, right? Or
Is he staying?
Trick question. What's the command?
stay.
The command is heel.
Yes. Okay, so it's not a sit, right? It's a heel,
Yeah.
but the sit is built into the command. But people, when they perceive the sit, usually think stationary, right? But if you were to move, Gilmore's inclination most likely is going to be to move with you.
Yeah.
Because that's what heel is, right? Walk with me, sit when I stop. So, what I do is I use the heel because it's a moving command to help differentiate for the dog that when I say stay, it then means you don't move, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, what we'll do is you're gonna pop Gilmore in the heel, you walk for a little bit, you're gonna come to a stop, he's gonna auto sit. We're gonna take our left hand, because that's the one closest to him, and we're gonna just wave. It doesn't matter if he sees it or not, so don't worry about like getting in his face and like being very,
Yeah.
exaggerated. It's just, I just go stay, and I'm gonna shorten that leash, because I'm gonna anticipate that when I move, he's gonna think I need to move with you, right? With the heel, we would say heel, and then move forward with that left leg. Now that we're doing stay, what you're actually gonna do is you're gonna pivot out with your right leg so that you should be facing Gilmore like this. So it's one big swoop, okay? Now the reason why we shorten that leash is when I come to pivot around, if Gilmore starts to get up, you're gonna freeze what you're doing, up, tap, continue until he puts the butt down. Once he puts his butt down, then I continue with my movement. He gets up, I want to pull up and away from you, because you want to keep him at bay.
Okay.
If you remote him and Gilmore comes to your space, because he's thinking I'm supposed to follow you, because we did a couple of weeks of heel, we did a couple of weeks of recall,
Mm-hmm.
is if he moves to you, he's going to think that that's actually what you're wanting from him, okay? So when we do the stay, we need him to actually stay away from us. Okay, so that's why I shorten that leash, so when I do that swoop out, if he gets up, I can pull up, and the leash is short enough that it'll keep him away from me as I tap him to get him to correct, then relax, and then continue my movement, okay?
Okay.
And then should he get up, I counter again, tap, I don't say anything, just reposition, wait a moment, then I'm gonna swoop back in, good boy, if he gets up, even with the praise, I would just simply up, tap to reposition him, relax, then we're gonna go into that heel again. Okay?
Yep.
And I'll coach you through it. So who's gonna go first?
You're up there.
Oh, man.
You have the collar. You have
Go.
the thing. You have the
Oh.
collar.
All right, so what you'll do is you'll put Gilmore in the heel, and then you'll just kind of circle around, and then you'll come to a stop, and then, just position yourself so that you're gonna be in a place where you're gonna have space to swoop out and all that, okay?
Gilmore. Gilmore. Gilmore, go.
Yeah, what's bird do? Oh,
So confused right now.
there you go.
Good boy. No. Heel.
Sure. Hold on.
He's struggling with this already.
There you go. So yeah, now tap. And then here we'll just, pull to your left. There you go. Yep. Yep.
So turn it down.
Yeah. What's your number
Oh,
currently?
that's 79.
Let's go to 35. And we're gonna do one other thing here.
Say the level is definitely probably too high because we're inside right now.
Yeah.
Good buddy.
We're gonna swap leashes too. We're gonna put this one so we get more immediate control, okay? Now you do have to be mindful with this leash because if you keep tension on it, it closes and it puts pressure so you can choke the dog out, okay? But it's gonna give you immediate control because you have it right here at the head,
So
okay?
don't apply too much pressure continuously.
Correct.
Okay, Gilmore. Heel.
Good. Tap. 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 Good. Tap. Now here what you're going to do is anchor yourself.
Yep.
Okay, you're not going to move. Now relax a little bit. A little bit of pressure directly back to your left. Tap. 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 That's good right there. Now here, good. That length that you have is good.
Yeah.
So with your left hand, go ahead and just do a quick little swoop of like that when you say stay in the front of his face.
Stay.
And then reposition your hand on the leash. And then you're going to swoop out with that right leg so that you're facing Gilmore. Like that. Okay? And then you're going to swoop back to the side.
Just same way.
Yes. There you go. And praise.
Good boy.
So what we're doing here is we're getting them used to, you're not always going to move with me when we're in a heel. And once I give you the cue of stay, I'm going to move, you don't move. Okay? We're going to repeat that 4 more times.
Okay. Gilmore. Heel.
Yeah, and then that can happen, which is it's normal. So you told me that mistake.
I know.
Okay, up, tap, good, relax, tap, and relax, up, tap, relax, wait a moment, tap, good. Here,
Just swing around.
yeah, you can go to his other side, just make life easier, there we go. And then, yeah, you're good. So like, just step up, there you go.
Should I done
The stay, right. So go ahead and swoop back.
Okay.
Okay, and then relax your hand. Go ahead and do the hands.
Stay.
Correct. Yep. And then you can get the leash and then swoop out. There you go. Back to the side, and then brace.
Good boy.
Good. Do 3 more.
Yep.
Good.
Okay, Toby.
And here, and there you go. This one.
Stay.
Good. And then here, so you see how he kind of swiveled?
Yeah.
So he ended up like kind of positioning himself to you. So when you do the tap, what you would do is you'd actually be pulling back and probably do a little bit shorter. So like maybe half of that length, like that. So you can keep him more away from you.
Okay.
Because then he swiveled and he put his butt next to you, and it could be confusion because we did recall, right? And we taught him that whenever we move, you want to just default and follow. So he might think, oh, the tap means to come in closer. So you're actually trying to keep him at a distance of you so that he's not able to complete that motion, okay? Because if he completes the motion, then he's thinking like, oh crap, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. And really he's supposed to just put his butt down back to where he was, okay? So we'll try it again.
Good more. Heel.
Really good hand motion.
Stay.
So short but not tight. There you go. Back to his side. Raise.
Good boy.
Good. Try 2 more like that. That's good.
Heel.
Wrong foot.
And
Too much coordination. Stay.
there you go. Good one. Yep. Raise.
Good boy.
Gonna do 1 more.
Heel. Stay.
Good. And back to the side. Good. And raise.
Good boy.
So So now, we're gonna do that during, go to the next step. Same deal. No heel, come to a stop, stay, pivot out, wait a moment, and then you're gonna do a half circle in front of Gilmore, okay? Where you just go side to side, and then stand, wait, land in front, and then you're gonna end up back to the side again, praised.
So when he's staying, I gotta like walk like around
Correct.
him, and then like.
Just doing a half moon around the front half to correct.
Okay.
And then you end up going back to the side, you would praise. Now during that time, you're keeping it short but not tight, in case he tries to move to follow you, so that you can tap and correct it, keep him in the position he's in, okay? Whenever you're ready.
Yep. Stay.
Good, yep.
Try to tap there.
So you'll try it again, because you did the stay, you pivoted out, and you corrected, but then you reset it to the heel.
Yeah.
And what I would have done is just kept where you were at, and then just continued with the exercise.
Stay.
Yep, and praise.
Good boy.
Good. Try one more like that.
Heel. Stay.
Release tension. There you go.
Good boy. Heel. Good boy. Stay.
Good. Two more.
Heel. Stay.
Good.
Good boy.
And one more.
Heel. Stay.
Very good. So we're gonna keep him in that state. We're gonna go and swap handlers here,
Okay.
but he should maintain position even as you swap, okay?
Good luck with the coordination. It can only get better than you.
I know that.
Questions before you start?
I guess we'll just play it by ear.
Sure. So you go, so here, so I like that you switched, he didn't move, right? So so if he's in a command and you switch control or whatever, switch leash, he is still to hold that command. When I work with couples, whenever they switch, the dog is more likely to, like, oh, okay, we're done, and that creates a gray area. So just always being aware if he is under command and you're switching handlers. If it was a stationary command, he should be holding that, okay?
Do you want me to do the half moon or start with the?
You're gonna start with the pivot first,
Okay,
with the, the
Just the
heel
half
to stay, to the leg out,
okay.
to the leg to the swoop back in, okay?
Alright, Gilmore heel. Stay.
Good. Back to the side. Good. And heel. And praise, I'm sorry.
Good boy.
Praise then heel.
Gilmore heel.
And forward. There you go. Good. And it's, so now that we're doing conflicting commands, right, we're doing move with me and don't move, it's not uncommon to see something like that where there's a little bit of delay.
Okay. Should I move to him?
Yeah, go ahead and pivot around so you're beside them, yeah, there we go. Then you give it the stay,
Stay.
then pivot out. Good. Back to the side, excellent, praise.
Good boy.
And 3 more.
Yep. Stay.
Nice. Very good.
Good boy.
2 more.
Yep.
You start off like, hey Jesse, now you're like,
No.
screw you, Jesse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So go ahead and turn cap, because that's a correction, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
It's like, you're talking all nice to me.
No. Stay.
Good. Excellent. Good.
Right.
Right.
Be the statue.
Yeah, boy.
Good boy.
And 1 more.
Heel. I know, it's late already. It feels so late with it being dark out.
I know. Just
Stay.
like a few weeks ago, it was still light out.
I know.
Did we hit daylight savings time already? Feels like we did.
I don't know, because now the phones are automatic. I don't even
Yeah.
think about it anymore. Very good. So that was good. And on a couple of them, you had some pretty big.
Are they 2 big half moons?
But no, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, like because he's doing well. Like he's holding it.
Okay.
So like after Matt worked him through that initial state of panic, because for a guy like him, that's his stress response, is when he gets really flighty. Okay.
Yeah.
So because he calls it a stressor, that's why I tell people it's gonna seem like it's worse, but it's because it's a controlled context of stress, and because it was something new, he freaks out.
Yeah.
But then once he worked him through it, corrected everything, now he's actually been doing really well.
Yeah.
Because now that we've worked him out of panic mode, his brain is able to start learning and taking like, oh, okay, like just don't move. Okay.
Right.
So now you're gonna do the heels into this the stay, pivot out, then the half moon, and then back to a side again. Okay?
Gilmore heel.
Listen to fall asleep.
I know.
Every time we're inside, I feel like it's. You also
It
just
has as
like.
much to concentrate on. Stay.
Mm-hmm. Good. Good. Back to the side. Great. Yeah, boy.
Good boy.
And we'll do 4 more like that.
Okay. Heel.
So where are you guys going Thursday?
We're going to Smoky Mountains, so
Gotcha.
Gatlinburg. We're flying to Asheville tomorrow night though.
Stay.
So maybe get in a little bit of Asheville on the way.
That was funny because Maddie, this morning, she's like, is it cool if I take Thursday and Friday off? And I was like, no. Because you guys started last week, right?
Yeah.
I was worried that we didn't tell you yet.
And then I was like, no. And then she was just looking at me. And I'm like, I already know. Like, and Matt told me. She's like, oh, okay. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Heel.
Hit 3 more. Which usually she tells me stuff like
Really?
way in advance.
That's why I thought I was like, I
I
don't
wonder if
know.
she's stressed because she's moving and everything. She's just got a lot going on.
Did she find a new place?
Yeah, she found a new place.
Yeah.
She's got a, now she has a door where she can just like open the door. And it's like 2 blocks away.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
What?
Yep, Tim. Yep. There we go.
Yeah, because she's like with the 2 dogs and the back door, it's
A lot, yeah. Tap, up, tap. There you go. Yeah, that's fine right there. That's good. Because you still kept that distance. You see that?
Yeah.
Even though he did move technically, the most important part is that he doesn't get to you.
Okay.
So then what you'll do here is simply keep within that stay, and then you'll pivot around, or I'm sorry, walk around, and then come back around so that you end up back in
Okay.
heel position. Yeah, it was crazy when the protest stuff was going on. Did she tell you about that? What was it, like a drive-by or something?
how did I hear about that?
Heel.
She was like texting me, and then she was like, "Oh my God, a van just like opened fire,
What?
like across the street from me or something." And I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" And she's like, "Oh, sorry, I had to run away from the drive-by." And I'm like, "What's
Oh
going
my
on?"
God.
Did she tell you about the
Stay.
drugs that just randomly got dropped off her front door?
No,
The surprise marijuana delivery?
no, she didn't.
She opened the front door and there's just like a weed package like sitting there.
That is
She texts us all, she's like, did you guys do this to us? Did you drop me this off?
We'll do one more. I feel like she's always got some kind of story.
I know, and there was one of the friends who was like, it's Christmas morning for me, Maddie, thank you so much, you're such a god.
Yeah,
literally. Yep.
Good.
Stay.
Yeah. Good job. Right there. Good. That was good correction. Excellent. So here, what do you think the next step would be?
To walk all the way around him.
Correct. Okay. So what we're going to do here, same stuff, but now you're going to do the full circle. Now, when you get behind Gilmore, super common that the dog is going to want to follow you. Okay. Because once he starts to go behind, he's going to look, and then because he can't continue turning, you know, a lot of dogs will stand up so that they can keep their eye on the handler. So if he gets up tap, right, freeze, and then you would continue until you can get one full circle.
Okay.
The gray area here is sometimes the dog will be sitting, and as you go around them, they'll swivel. Okay, and they'll keep the butt on the ground. I let that slide. Okay, because once he figures out that you're just walking around him and nothing's going on, the swiveling goes away. Okay. But should he stand up or lay down, you would definitely correct that. And you wanna, if he's making a mistake, you're resetting. Okay, so if he gets up as you're walking around, you would sit him back down again. Try again, he gets back up, you keep repeating. So eventually you can complete one full circle. Then you'd come back into position and then go to the next one. Okay?
Yep. Stay.
Good.
Good boy.
Good boy. One more.
Yep.
We should mix this with other commands, right?
How so?
Like if I wanted to do stay and then recall.
Oh, so good question. So I don't do recalls from stationary positions.
So you mentioned that last week. I didn't know if this applied to this.
Correct. Yeah, whether it's a stay or down or
stationary and
yeah, because of that behavior of like him anticipating, especially his personality type.
Yep.
I mean, you can, but it creates more work for you where you're going to have to fix that when that problem comes up. And so usually what I'll tell owners is,
stay.
If you want to like really just build really strong concepts of what the commands are, then yeah, because it gives you something to prove some more, like to show like, no, stay means you don't, like you just hold this until I say this, right? Like very clear.
Good boy.
But for a lot of people, they're like, nah, I don't want more homework on my plate. Then I tell them to just don't call the dog from a stationary position.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
too
trying to
more.
work before the ladder, I think. I was just trying to see like how could I, like if I were at the park and was like I wanted to train him like, by myself, get some drills in.
Yes.
So
So
I don't want to cause that though. Like, I'd rather just let him break and then call him back.
right. So what I do with this here is I start to blend it with the recall and the long leash heel. I'll do one more.
Yep.
So like let's say you do a recall and then you go into a side step and then you go into a stay, right? It'll show you how good,
Stay.
how strong this concept is of the command. If it's really good, like right off the bat, because you go from come to me to follow, 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 to a don't move. So using those conflicting commands, you know, like I did it, I was working with a client yesterday, very good. I'll hold right there.
Good
So I was with a client
boy.
yesterday and they're doing long leash stuff.
Yeah.
And I can tell either how strict someone is or whether or not they're like following through on everything because of how well the dog heals and all that stuff. Because it's super quick, like you're just changing the length of the leash, right? Everything is staying the same.
Mm-hmm.
But now that the leash is longer, it allows the dog to make a bigger gap of a mistake. So then when they're doing all this stuff, there was a lot of mistakes. Like up, tap, did. And I was like, this tells me how well the dog knows the command, and it's not very well, right? Because they asked me like, oh, they're just gonna take it. It usually takes dogs a while. I'm like, no, like, it usually takes it pretty quick. I was like, but this tells me that we need work, okay? So here, once you settle the brain, you calm them down, he's been really good about just holding that position and allowing you to move around him with very little movements or like mistakes on his part. Here, when he went to that down position, because technically he's in the stay, this can now be seen as a sit position as opposed to like a heel position, right? Because that's the command he's in. So the way I apply this is, if he's in a heel and he auto sits, human logic says I can't say sit, because he's already doing it. I could say down, but he doesn't know down. So instead I go with the stay. And stay means stay in the position you're currently in. So like, let's say Gilmore was laying down on his couch, and and it's on his own time, and you decided like, oh man, I need you to not move. You can't say down technically, but you can say stay.
Sure.
Then it becomes a down command. Same thing if you were to be on up on his bed or something, and you decide, hey, I need you to not move, stay. Then it becomes the place command. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then you would correct it as such. Okay. So if he started to break from the position, you would correct him until he goes back into it, but we wouldn't repeat anything. Okay. Questions about this so far?
No, but I think he's gonna fall asleep standing.
Let's go and swap hammers here. We'll go and keep him in that stay. And we'll have Matt do the full circle as well.
What a good buddy.
Heel. Stay.
And
Heel. Stay. I think he's like waiting for me to come back. Heel. Stay.
And pause right there. So all this is good, but step out with that right leg.
I'll step out like.
Yeah, so you don't have to do the swoop anymore,
Yeah.
because like I can see he's already doing really well.
I'll step leading with my left.
You're leading with your right, correct.
Got it.
Because
The heel.
once he gets really tuned in, like you'll do the stay, and when you move that left leg, he's gonna keep going, and it's gonna cause that confusion.
Ah, that makes sense.
Go ahead.
Heel. Stay.
There you go.
This is a lot of coordination for me.
I'm seriously.
Yeah.
Heel with your left, do everything else with your right.
I feel that way. Good boy.
Good, we'll do one more.
Heel.
So yeah, when I first started this, and especially because training on the left side, I'm not, left-handed.
Yeah.
It was very awkward for me, but now trying to train on the other side is super awkward.
Yeah.
Stay.
It didn't take me long to get used to the left. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but
Yeah.
it feels natural.
Yeah. I find that with right-handed people, your inclination is to think the right side is better,
Yeah.
but it's actually the opposite. So what we're gonna do
Heel.
here, you're good,
Okay.
is you're gonna go into your heel, you're gonna go into the stay again, pivot, walk around, come back in, praise, get quite a bit of praise, and step away, but that stay is still in effect, okay?
Okay. Stay.
And then like drop the leash and walk away.
We'll keep it on the leash for now, but we will progress to dropping the leash.
Oh.
So then come back in, you're gonna praise them, add a boy, praise, 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 praise. And then step away again, but you should stay put. Yeah, up, tap. Right, and we'll ignore that for now. So what you're gonna do here, because he broke position, right, is you're gonna do another full circle, then you'll come in praise again, step away, up, tap, 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 leash tension, There you go, like that. Good. Good. Now try the full circle. Good. Back to the side. Praise.
Good boy.
And you can step away again.
Any direction?
Any direction, yeah. There you go.
Shit, I wish. Coordination again.
Good. And then go ahead and walk around real quick. Good. Back to his side. And then here, when you pick up release, I might anticipate that he'll prematurely break. Good, he doesn't. So on that first one, when you did the, stay, move around, pet him, and then you got it up twice, is that physical touch can sometimes break the dog's concentration. So I use that to my advantage, but the command is still in effect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we would correct it just like we would if he was doing it in the initial stay. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put him in a heel, and we're gonna try that 2 more times.
Heel. Stay.
Good.
Good boy. Now walk away.
Mm-hmm. Good. And then you're gonna walk around. Has he met the other Gilmore?
He
Tap,
hasn't.
tap, tap. So what I'm gonna have you do here is slow taps, but walk towards this way. Tap, tap. Up, there you go. What's his number currently?
He's at 38.
Let's go down to 18. And then you'll go ahead and do a circle around. So if he, up tap, there we go, good. There you go, good. Wait a moment, yep, and then walk around. If he breaks position considerably, then I'll slowly tap as I walk back to the general space. Doesn't have to be perfect, okay, just
Okay.
general area. And then he self-corrects, so like when you brought him back, he put that butt down, right? And then I step away and continue as if nothing happened. If it was just like a foot or two or a step or two, it's like whatever. But if it's that much distance, you would correct him, lead him back general area, he self-corrects, and then I go and continue with the walk around, okay? I'll go and do heel, we'll do one more.
Heel. I'm like double thinking, like, where do I,
What feet do
which
I
ones do
start
I
with?
do?
Yeah.
Stay.
I've done it so much, it's hard for me to think about even doing it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Gonna come in and praise.
Good boy.
And step away, good. Have you thought about it? Okay. Yeah. Good. No, correct. Wait a moment. Then walk around. Yeah, away. Good.
Good boy.
We're gonna keep them in that state. We're gonna swap handlers.
You're gonna have better help than I am.
Yeah, I need the,
Oh, yeah.
that's the first thing I do. All right, Gilmore, let's show up. Yeah. Heel.
Good.
Stay. So I,
Then back in, praise,
good boy. And now,
away, and then another full circle, yeah. Right, you can see how he thinks about it right there, that little movement.
I think he's just been so like focused on forward movement equaling heel. So now he's probably have to thinking about heel more
good
too.
boy.
Right. 2 more.
Heel.
Do you ever do that too? Like without like even saying heel if he moves, would you stop that?
Has the heel been
Stay.
initiated at all?
So, yeah, that's a good point. Like, that's behind us because we didn't say heel before we moved. Well, like, let's just say I haven't said heel yet, but I moved, and he moves
boy.
too.
If he's in a stay, yeah, good correction. So if he's in a stay, right, and you come next to him and you step away, one, you want to make sure that leg movement is correct. And it's the leg away from him. So since we're always to his right currently, we're stepping away with that right leg. But if Gilmore was to your right, you would actually be stepping away with your left leg. Okay?
As long as we move away with the left.
Correct. It's the leg away from the dog. Now, if you're in a heel command and you come to a stop and the opposites, if you continue moving with that left leg, you technically don't have to repeat the word heel because the left leg is the visual cue. But if you were to step away with the right leg, technically the dog isn't supposed to move.
Gilmore, you did this on purpose too.
Good. And praise.
Good boy.
Excellent. And break.
Break.
Excellent. So, practicing this. During walks, I really don't do, unless you're doing long leash work, I really don't do stay sessions. What I have people do is when they walk their dogs, let's say you hit a red light, do a stay, practice at the red light. Let's say after Gilmore poops, lightly pull up, tap him into a sitting position, give that stay, pick up his poop, you know?
Oh, good idea.
Yeah. People usually like that one. They're like, oh, yeah.
Because he wants to go do his own thing. I'm like trying to juggle
yeah.
5 things.
So like, let's say in the beginning, when you do this, because you're just starting to implement it, right? It might start off like when Matt had him earlier, where he kind of spazzes, and you just work through that. And eventually you do it so much that it won't be a problem anymore. But then he's stationary while you're doing that, and you can either go back to him and release him, or you can go back to him and go into that heel. The other way would be like, let's say you're gonna throw away the poop, I give the stay, I walk away a couple of steps, throw it away, and then back to side heel. So I'm just finding ways to implement the command during his daily life. So there's other things that you find, like for instance, for like our border trains here, whenever we go out the door, or even for our daycare dogs, because sometimes we've had a couple of incidents of like off-leash dogs, or like there's I think like some kind of preschool here, so sometimes they're walking the kids, and so like the handlers will give the stay and walk out the door to check if the coast is clear, back in, and come out with the dog in the heel. And then we go my employees go to like Home Depot to practice, and then like Brianna likes to apply it anytime she leaves an aisle, like just to like, she's over practicing the command to give the dog a really good concept of it. So just finding little ways that when you have him on the leash and you're walking with him or whatever, that you can implement it. Otherwise, what I do is I take this command and I blend it in with the long leash stuff, right? So let's say we're doing recall, call Gilmore, he's nice and close. I do those side movements, so he's thinking to glue to you, and then I go stay. Okay, so I'm going from follow to the opposite, which is one more follow. Then I step away, right? And you want to start, even though you're at 30 foot, you want to start close, walk around if that looks good. Then I start to give slack and move at a greater distance. Okay. Now, if I'm 20 feet from Gilmore and he breaks prematurely, I start tapping and moving towards him in a slow rhythm, tap, tap, tap. And just like we did today, where you brought him back to general area, he would reposition, and then I would step away again. And then he gets up, tap, tap, lead him back, he sits back down, walk away again, right? And it might take a few times. Because he's got to figure out, like, because they went from come to us and walk with us and all that stuff to all of a sudden put your butt back down and don't move, okay? So they're conflicting commands. I'm not a fan of doing the recall from a stationary position. If you do so, you're gonna have to fix that problem, okay? I had this happen to a client whose dog was doing great with everything, and then we were doing, she was showing her stays and stuff, and then the dog was like moving every split second after she would stay her, And then I asked, like, have you been doing recalls from, sits? And she said, yes. I'm like, yeah, this is why we had this problem right now. So we fixed it, no big deal. But then that was something she had to actively work on after that. I try not to break dogs too far from a distance either. I like to be close to them to make things very kind of cut and dry, where it's like, I will never call you from a stationary position so we don't get those mistakes. But then two, if he's at a distance and like, let's say you're needing him to hold a stationary position, like place or whatever, I don't want him to think that maybe I potentially released him. Because he's gonna think, anytime you release me or call me or put me in the heel, it's always when you're in my immediate space.
Yeah.
Because dogs always, they see things in pictures.
Yeah.
So then he's gonna be less likely to make that mistake because we've never issued a release from a distance before. Okay?
Yep.
Questions about any of this?
So I've been doing stay with food.
Okay.
But just like I haven't like this.
Oh sure, like stay for the eats. Yeah.
Yeah, but now I should be having him sit and saying stay. And should I just drill this more before I even?
No, you can continue with what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. So how do you go about like setting that up? What does that look like?
So it's actually kind of similar. Like I would get the bull, like he'll be at my side, and then I'll say like, hey, stay. I'll make him sit first, and then I'll say stay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll wait until he continues to stay, and I'll put the food down, and then I'll break him.
Okay.
So probably pretty similar, but just not as coordinated as you can tell.
Yeah. No. To see if you can, if you can find the blend.
Yeah.
That one, like let's say you put the food across the room and you release him, because there's the context of food, and it's in the home and stuff, that shouldn't seep out into the real world. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a bowl of food waiting for him,
Right.
So that's perfectly fine. I'm a big fan of, like, I don't mind using food for training. I like it. I do it. It's just for the average dog owner, thinking like all the coordination and then the remoting and then the leash pressure and then the dog, and then you got to worry about your food pouch and then your food, like in the tiny. So, but yeah, that's absolutely a great way to you can even incorporate other stuff.
I just didn't want him kind of like if you put the food down because he's so food motivated too that he'd be like in your hand. So it's like I just want to like have him sit before.
Yeah, just finding applications for it. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. So, other questions?
I got nothing.
I guess like the only other thing I'd say is like just like understanding like the evolution to like no collar or like how we use the collar over.
Oh sure. So in my book, so if you see Maddie with Rudder, he's got his collar on.
Yeah, all
right.
the time, yeah.
But the times I know she uses it, it's more so the presence of it. So I refer to the collar as a cop on the collar. So you guys drive, right?
Yeah.
Down the expressway? You go speed limit?
Well, no,
No.
I mean, yeah.
Never.
So, but if you see a squad car, what happens?
Slow down.
Slow down, right? Because now there's the threat of a potential ticket or a consequence, right? So it's opportunistic behavior. All animals do it. It's part of survival instinct. So I think of the e-collar as a cop on a collar. So when he's outside, he's going to be off leash and you don't want him pulling and stuff, it's on. But if he's a great dog inside the home and he's a great dog when people come over and stuff, you don't need it. And it's not that you're always going to be actively using it. That's what all this training is for, right? You're teaching the skills, but it's when the collar is present, he knows to, obey the laws or obey the commands that he's been given. Especially a guy like him with that prey drive, yes, I've had dogs where people will say like, I don't need the collar anymore. And my thing, I'm like, well, you don't need the collar, but what if an emergency happens? And that's always my counter argument.
Yeah.
Even with my own dogs, like my pit hates fireworks. And 2 times walking through Logan Boulevard, like not even near 4th of July, someone has lit off fireworks and has put her in flight mode. And then I'm sitting there going like, I wish I would have had my e-collar so that I could, calm her down.
Yeah.
Is those things randomly can happen, or like with his prey drive, if a rabbit just shot right in front of him, I'd imagine he'd go into predatory mode in the blink of an eye. Is I want to know that I have the capacity or the ability to get the dog back under control. with of course him being off leash, you know? So it's present when you need it, but how much you're using it, like it should essentially go down to like once in a blue moon. But you also have to factor in the context. If you're in an area where there's a lot of squirrels and stuff, it could be a year from now, and you're still having to remote him because he's just got such a strong predatory drive, is that you have that to taper him down. But you can't kill instinct.
Right.
You know, like it's in him. And I've had plenty of dogs that I've trained that had, in my opinion, great prey drive. It's annoying when it's a family pet because the owner's like, I want an easy dog. But I'm like, that's not the dog you have, but this tool makes it easier to control. For a trainer, it's great because a trainer can harness that drive and then use it for training and, you know, teach really complex things. So.
No, that makes sense.
Other questions?
That's it. So I'm just interested in that one.
Good. He's doing good.
Yeah.
So continue the practice and everything. You got something new to add to the repertoire?
Yep.
For the next, because this is what, is this number 7?
This is 6, I think.
This is 6.
Yeah, we're probably going to re-up to do the 12, I think.
Okay, so if you're going to do the 12, just confirm with me.
Yeah.
Because
I think we were in the middle of the move, so it was like...
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple other commands that we want to teach, and then after that, it's just progressing those commands to off-leash.
Okay.
Otherwise, what I would do is I would cap it here, and we would just do more off-leash or progress to off-leash with what he knows.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do the full 12, then I know that I can teach the other stuff because we're going to have more time to cover everything. Okay?
Yeah, I think we want to cover
now
all
that
our
we-
bases.
Now that we've covered most of our moving expenses.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I think
Yeah,
we'll,
no worries.
we'll talk to Maria and get it.
Yeah, so now I know, so the next time I see you guys, we can work on the next command and stuff. But for now, with the long leash, this will give you some things to start working on. And then we'll teach the down command. We'll go over the formal sit. And then after that, that's our basis of the 6 family pet. Sit, stay, come, place, heel. And then it's just practicing everything and then adding things into the long leash repertoire to build to off leash reliability. Okay?
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good job. No worries.
Yeah.